These two guys have been going at each other at the UFC PI. They have been starting beef backstage at UFC 279 as well. And they have also been yapping back and forth all over social media since UFC 279. At some point, this matchup needs to happen. And I'm talking, of course, about Paulo Costa versus Khamzat Chimaev. And it may even happen next because, of course, Khamzat Chimaev couldn't make weight at 170 pounds to fight Nate Diaz. He had to fight Kevin Holland on short notice, who just so happened to be at a catch weight of 180 pounds. Add 5 pounds onto 180 and it's 185, the next division above. Could we see Khamzat Chimaev versus Paulo Costa at 185 pounds? And would Khamzat Chimaev win? That's the question. I put a poll up in my chat of about 600 or so, at the time, live viewers, hardcore fans of MMA. And that poll came back 50-50 on who they believed would win between Paulo Costa and Khamzat Chimaev. And I'm feeling the same way, but I'm going to try and get to a bottom of an answer of who I would pick if they made that fight right now. Am I wrong for saying I would pick Paulo Costa? Because although it's kind of a 50-50 matchup because we don't know how Khamzat Chimaev would deal against a massive big guy in the middleweight division, Paulo Costa, I know people know him as like a brawler and a bit of a dumb guy and a silly fighter and doesn't really have the best fight IQ. He just comes forward and scraps. One thing about Paulo Costa that you can't deny is that this man may have some of the best takedown defense that we've seen for a long time. Okay, he's got really good takedown defense. You don't keep this guy down if you're Yoel Romero. Robert Whittaker is there as well, and of course Israel Adesanya is quite good, but not as good as these guys and stuff like that. But Whittaker's got great takedown defense, but the thing is with Paulo Costa is that he's massive and he has great takedown defense. Whittaker is a little bit of a smaller middleweight. I'm not saying who I think would win between him and Khamzat Chimaev in this video, but Whittaker's a smaller guy, so he's going to have a little bit less of a chance at dealing with the strength and size of a guy like Khamzat Chimaev, whereas Paulo Costa is big for the middleweight division, massive for the middleweight division, would be weighing heavier than Khamzat Chimaev if they were to fight each other next in the middleweight division, and has amazing takedown defense that we've seen on display against Yoel Romero, actively trying to take him down. Listen, people say they stuff takedowns by Romero. I feel like we've only really seen recently Yoel Romero shooting proper takedowns with intention of getting someone to the ground against Paulo Costa and Robert Whittaker. Against Israel Adesanya, you can say, oh, Adesanya never got taken down, but he never really tried to take down Israel Adesanya, because I believe he thought he was winning that matchup based on rounds 1, 2, and 5. The judges didn't seem to think so. Either way, Paulo Costa's massive. He's powerful. He's strong. He can get Khamzat Chimaev emotional. I think he would beat Khamzat Chimaev. If I truly believe this is more like a 50-50 fight based on things we don't really know about Khamzat Chimaev, on how he's going to deal with someone who's stronger than him, bigger than him in a grappling scenario. Let's not forget he chose to strike with Gerald Meerschaert. Every other opponent until Gilbert Burns, of course, because of his jiu-jitsu threat. Even against Gilbert Burns, Chimaev went for the takedown. Tried to take him down, tried to do what he could do on the ground, but then thought, you know what, too risky. I'll KO this guy instead. Backfired, really. Ended up with a really close fight. But he immediately took down Li Jingliang. He immediately took down Kevin Holland. Immediately took down John Phillips. Immediately took down Reese McKee. But he didn't immediately take down Meerschaert. He went for the KO blow. So at middleweight, does Khamzat Chimaev not believe in his grappling as much, is what I'm going to say. I know John Phillips is also a middleweight, but he's terrible. Meerschaert is somewhat good and has grappling skill. I feel as though Paulo Costa would be able to stuff the takedowns of Khamzat Chimaev. And what's more, I feel as though Paulo Costa, yes or no in the comments below, would be an underdog. He would be an underdog against Khamzat Chimaev. After what Chimaev has just done to Kevin Holland, compare that with what Paulo Costa's performance looked like against Luke Rockhold. I'd say Khamzat Chimaev would be a pretty sizable favourite over Paulo Costa. Nothing too crazy. Not like 5-1 like he was against other opponents. I reckon he'd be like in the 200s. Minus 200 and something. Just over 2-1 favourite against a guy like Paulo Costa. And if I'm looking to make a good underdog pick that I'm leaning towards anyway in the matchup, it's Paulo Costa, because you want to know why? If they make this matchup, it's going to be soon. Okay? Paulo Costa's got momentum back. Chimaev would have to build himself up quickly into the middleweight division. He would be undersized against a guy like Paulo Costa. And I can't think of a worse matchup for him to take than Paulo Costa in his debut, outside of maybe Robert Whittaker. That's another bad matchup for him, and a matchup that he said he doesn't even want. So maybe even he knows that he doesn't want that. And I truly believe by him saying that he wants to train with Robert Whittaker, he's kind of saying to himself, let me see about the takedown defense of these top middleweights. Hey, Whittaker, let's train with each other. I'm at welterweight right now. You're at middleweight. Why don't we train a little bit? Let me get a feel of the takedown defense of the middleweights before I commit to moving up there and giving up on my title chances at 170. I don't think this fight's going to happen next. I feel as though Chimaev might lose this. Costa is so unbelievably strong. And that's a factor more than skill in times. Genetic gifts, roids, secret juice make you strong and jacket that Paulo Costa has, can often play a part more than actual technical ability. Now, Costa's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He started as a grappler. He's got great grappling skill, and he knows what to do to stuff takedowns. He does everything technically well. But I made a video on my second channel called, I believe it was called, Is Paulo Costa's takedown defense good enough to deal with Khamzat Chimaev's takedowns, or Khamzat Chimaev's grappling? It was called, Will Paulo Costa's takedown defense work on Khamzat Chimaev? And it's on my MMA Guru Clips channel. My second channel. You can go check that one out, the MMA Guru Clips. And in that video, I show Paulo Costa's so unbelievably strong to throw people off of him when he's on bottom. He does not get held down. And if Chimaev uses so much effort to get these takedowns, I don't see him finishing Paulo Costa. I don't see him submitting Paulo Costa. I don't see him TKOing Paulo Costa. I don't see him keeping Costa down. Do I believe he could score a takedown on Costa? Yes, I do. Could he maybe hang on the feet for a bit with Costa? Maybe. Maybe. I think it'd be dangerous. I just know that while he's going for these takedowns, Costa's going to give him everything to work his way back up to his feet. And I watched him throw Yoel Romero off of him. I watched him literally get mounted by Rockhold and with one hand push Rockhold off of him from a mount position. I feel as though Khamzat Chimaev would really struggle keeping down Costa. And I think as he's struggling to do so, Costa's, like he was against Luke Rockhold and Yoel Romero, going to be punching the side of the head, punching the ear, punching the eyes and the nose, punching the body, framing and kneeing the body when they get back up to their feet. Maybe Khamzat Chimaev would have the game plan of going out there and striking with Costa and throwing him off a little bit and coming out there with vicious intent in his hands. Maybe. But we've seen another middleweight coming up right now. Ikram Aliskerov was able to stuff all of the takedowns of Khamzat Chimaev. Are there big and strong enough opponents out there that just have that ability to stop Khamzat Chimaev's pure physicality-based takedowns? He's got great skill, amazing grappling. But even against Hermansson in a pure grappling match, he couldn't keep him down. Hermansson was getting back up. Sure, he got chucked down a couple of times, but Hermansson kept getting back up. You know what I mean? And it was not the same as what we see him do against a guy like Kevin Holland, a guy like Li Jingliang, these smaller guys that are smaller than him. However, Chimaev's style of takedown does work on Costa, because we've seen guys like Marvin Vettori and even Luke Rockhold be able to get takedowns on Costa by shooting the takedown, using it to get the back, and then dragging down Paulo Costa afterwards. We've seen people be able to do that. But will he be able to get through the fire first of all on a guy who will be an underdog in Paulo Costa? I'm not so sure. I think in time, Chimaev can beat those really tough matchups for him at middleweight. Maybe he could even beat Israel Adesanya now. That's just the way style matchups work. Maybe he can even beat a guy like Israel Adesanya now. You know what I mean? Maybe he just beats a Darren Till easily now. He definitely does. I would put a lot of money on that. If I had money and I had to put it on a fight, for him to beat someone at middleweight, I'd pick him to beat Darren Till pretty reasonably. You know what I mean? He will beat the strikers at middleweight. But Costa's takedown defense is so good. He's so strong. He's so big. He's got pop in his shots. He's got small, short arms that he can get underhooks with. He's got a tight body lock. He can throw people off. He's got a bodybuilder's build. You know what I mean? No range of motion in his movements. It's all explosive thrusts. Like, he's built to be a bodybuilder. And I feel as though he would give Chimaev a lot of problems. And I'd probably pick him if it was Chimaev's first time up there. In all honesty. I think Chimaev needs to stay at 170. Fight Colby Covington. Make weight. Probably beat him. In all honesty. Just because, again, I know people are going to say, but Covington's wrestling degree. Covington weighs under 180 pounds. Chimaev's probably 190 something on fight day. Covington, I think, cut for his Usman fight from like 177 pounds. He's one of the only fighters that fights at their natural weight class. And sure, he could survive and give Chimaev problems, but I like Costa's chances at surviving more, and I like his chances at throwing off Chimaev more as well with his brute strength and size in general. Costa's probably cutting from over 200 pounds, 210 probably, something like that. And I think that would give Chimaev problems compared to Covington at 177, like an Usman and an Edwards maybe at late 180s, you know what I mean? I think Chimaev's just going to be too big for those guys. So I think he should stay there, beat the welterweights first, develop his stand-up, and then give these middleweights something else to worry about. Plus, let these middleweights age a little bit more because Chimaev's got youth on his side. But I feel as though I would lean towards Paulo Costa. Although it may sound crazy, watch my video. The takedown defense this man displays. We haven't seen it from Holland. I know you can say, well, Vettori couldn't do anything on top of Kevin Holland and Chimaev finished him. Oh, you know, well, Brunson couldn't do anything on top of Kevin Holland and Chimaev finished him. I get that, but getting someone down is the point, and they could all do it to Kevin Holland. We've seen him get taken down. It's the main... Darren Stewart spent a round nearly on top of Kevin Holland. You know what I mean? So I feel as though it's like a problem in his game. And I feel like it's the same with Li Jingliang, who got taken down by Neil Magny, and that's not a good look. You know what I mean? So we've seen Chimaev, other than against Gilbert Burns, who has got great takedown defense himself and great jiu-jitsu, ragdoll these guys that should be ragdolled. What about the guys that shouldn't and that are bigger than him on top of that? That's where it gets interesting to me. Watch my video on the second channel about Paulo Costa's takedown defense. I think he stuffs the takedowns of Chimaev's, gets taken down a couple of times maybe, works his way back up, digs to the body, digs to the head, and we start to see a very different looking Chimaev that maybe gets caught up on the feet against a guy with a lot more pop than Gilbert Burns, a lot more size than Gilbert Burns, a lot more strength than Gilbert Burns, better body work than Gilbert Burns. Chimaev keeps a very high guard. I could see Costa rip into the body, taking big shots, a better chin than Gilbert Burns for sure. Costa's chin is pretty underrated. We'll see. Or maybe Chimaev moves up to middleweight, grows a boob like Israel Adesanya, and makes Paulo Costa look like an absolute amateur. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, and that's how it's going to work out. But I'd pick Costa to win. There's a 50-50 fight, and I know, and let me know if you agree in the comments, Costa would be a pretty big underdog based on the momentum of things right now. I think he would be like a plus 190. Not too crazy. Not too Dagestani-ish with the odds. But Chechen enough with the odds making. You know what I mean? I reckon they'd make him a bit of a favourite. And I would be very enticed by the underdog of Paulo Costa. I want to see it, though. Just for the build-up. Chimaev getting angry at Paulo Costa's memes. Come on. Chimaev and his anger issues versus Paulo Costa sitting up there with rainbow glasses and his secret juice bottle on the press conference. That's just a recipe for pay-per-view money. Make it happen. Maybe not now, but eventually for sure. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. See you later. I'd go with Paulo Costa. TKO round 2 is what I would go with. Goodbye.